everybody, welcome back to the RC Driver Workshop. I'm Greg, and as you can see, I've got the Tamiya Dancing Rider here. I'm so excited to show you guys this video. I've already done an unboxing of the Dancing Rider. I've done a features video on the Dancing Rider, and now you get to see the Dancing Rider in action. Let's get right into it. Didn't that just look like a lot of fun? I had such a blast out at the park with the Tamiya Dancing Rider. It delivered an experience that only Tamiya could deliver with their fun machines. Let's just jump right into the performance discussion of this vehicle, and I'm going to break it down into several different parts. So let's start off with the steering of the vehicle. In part 2, I showed you that the servo actually connects to the rear pod of the vehicle, and it actually leans the bike over, and that's how the vehicle steers. And so out on the basketball court, it took me a few minutes to get used to it. Actually, when I first put it down, I steered the wheel and the thing fell over because, it just leaned the vehicle and it just dropped over. Luckily, I was able to just tweak the wheel back and it stood right back up. So basically what you have to do to get this thing going is start with a forward motion, and then you can start steering it. Now once it's in motion, it's actually really hard to tip this thing over. If you're on full throttle, what it tends to do is it tends to push as you steer, and so the turns are very wide, and where your tight turns come in is when you let off the throttle, the vehicle's able to transfer its weight properly, and then it'll actually turn pretty tight. it was pretty neat to see. Where I really had a lot of fun with the steering part of this was actually using the brake to check up the rear end and kind of, slide the vehicle around. You probably saw that. I was able to get some of that footage in that action part of the video. You saw me hitting the brake and the trike just checking up and pulling a tight corner. It was a lot of fun. I actually did a lot of that style of driving to do some tight corners and stuff like that. But then out on the turf field, I just went out on the turf field just for fun, and it actually worked really well out there. Just kind of ripping around back and forth on the field, and the turning was a bit tighter out there, but there was never a time where I really worried about it, catching a wheel and flipping over or anything like that. It's really, really stable. So I should probably move on to the handling portion of this review. And again, it just stayed upright the entire time. I mean, the only time it really fell over was when I stopped and turned the wheel, and it would flop over to the side, and I would just flick the wheel to stand it back up, as you saw. I went over some bricks and even went off-roading a little bit and stuff like that, and it soaked up the bumps. I mean, there's not a lot of suspension on this. There's a little bit of suspension in the front, and there's some in the rear, but the trike just handled all the on-road conditions that I drove on. But it actually handled pretty well for this really basic setup. I was really surprised. Now let's talk about acceleration, and this thing is powered by a Life-E battery, as you saw in video number 2, so it's not like this crazy power source that has a 380 motor in there, but it actually has a fun amount of power to it. I mean, I think you saw it there. It is pretty quick for how it's set up. I mean, it's not going to pull wheelies or anything like that, but it scoots across the field pretty well, scoots across the basketball court, and I'm sure it's going to rip around some parking lots. If you have a small area, it's going to seem pretty fast, so I was really happy with how it was out of the box. I mean, overall, it was just a fun machine. Let's talk about durability. I didn't have any durability issues. I mean, I was running in some big open areas and stuff like that. And you know what? I mean, the vehicle seems pretty stable. It seems pretty strong. The only issue I really had with it, out in the big field was when I was done for the day, I was walking back to my car, and I accidentally knocked off the push bar. And I did that out on the field. I got back to the car, put it down, and went, oh, wait, where's the push bar? Had to run back out on the field, retrace my steps, and luckily I was able to find it. So just be careful. Don't knock this off and lose it somewhere, because it does really help you get the vehicle uprighted if you do tip it over. I mean, but other than that, I mean, if you go and maybe boost the power later on, I don't really see this thing having a problem, in the durability department. Maybe my only suggestion would be to upgrade to some ball bearings in the transmission, and other than that, you're just going to have a lot of fun with this vehicle. And that's what it's really all about. That's what Tamiya does. Tamiya creates these fun machines that, you could just enjoy. And I could really see probably a lot of RC buddies getting together and having a bunch of these out in the parking lot and just having a great time running around some cones or just challenging each other to some slalom courses or something like that. I could also see these being run at the racetrack. I think it would just be a fun little class to have. You bring this along with your race car, and hopefully the track would set up a class for it, and running these around a track would be a lot of fun as well. To me, it really has something here. I think this is one of those vehicles that's going to turn into, you're going to get one and you're going to hold on to it, kind of like those people that held on to their frogs and grasshoppers and stuff like that. And it's going to be one of those things where, later on down the road, people are going to remember it and say, hey, do you remember the Tamiya Dancing Rider? How much fun that was? And, oh yeah, I still have it. Let's break it out and have fun with it. And people are going to talk about it. It's just that cool of a machine. I had an absolute blast with it. Thank you, Tamiya. It was really an awesome experience. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that 3-part video review of the Tamiya Dancing Rider. Make sure you see all of them if you haven't done so yet. And while you're at it, click the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, throw this video a like please, and when you have some more time, head over to rcdriver.com for some more RC information.